Hey everybody, how's it going? This is TGC Radio. I'm your host, Jonathan, and joining me today is one of our newest contributing writers for the website. His name is Jake. How are you doing today, Jake?
I'm doing good. Just beat Hades like
Just beat
an hour
Hades?
ago. Yeah.
Nice.
Someone
How? Yeah.
someone recommended it, and I downloaded it and inadvertently lost 14 hours of my week.
Dang.
Game's addicting.
Oh yeah, no, I've heard it's amazing. I want to play it myself, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. I don't even own it. But um isn't don't you have to beat the game multiple times though? That's what I heard. Like you have to actually beat it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like not to spoil anything, but like yeah, there's definitely like you know, it's kind of the classic roguelite system is where you beat it, you feel good, and then it's like, all right, now you can get to the final true ending if you beat it
Right.
right, if you do it correctly.
Just like
So
yeah. Just like
I'm
classic
just glad
Ghost
I
and
got through
Goblins.
it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty awesome. Yeah, one of my friends really loves Hades. I'll have to talk to him about it. Um, but our first story for today is Sony did a state of play. Do you play on PlayStation 5 or PlayStation 4?
I do play on PlayStation 4. Haven't gotten around to getting the PlayStation 5 yet. It's a little too rich for my blood
I got
at
you.
current state. But yeah. I saw the state of play, and there's actually some cool games I saw there. Like they had that seafood game, new fighting action game
Hmm.
made by the same people who did Absolver. Did you ever play that?
No, have never played it.
It was this weird, like, I don't even know how to describe its gameplay. It was like an arena fighter 1v1 brawl. It felt almost like For Honor, but for like kung fu. It was very strange, but
Oh,
very
that's
fun.
cool. That does sound awesome. So it was like kind of a 3D arena. It wasn't like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter
Yeah,
where
no,
it's
no.
2D. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Okay.
like and it had all the For Honor stuff, so people would run around and then like kick you off a ledge and you die and get super mad.
Okay. Yeah.
But this seems to be more like single player focused with kind of similar combat system, which should be fun.
Yeah.
It looks great.
What did you think of the state of play overall? Because everyone I've talked to about it, it's just been like it was crap, like it was dog shit. They're like, I hated it. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't watch it.
It was like, I mean, I guess people now expect stuff like State of Play and Nintendo Directs to be these huge systems where like every single time there's a brand new, great, awesome game
Right.
coming out. And like here, there really wasn't a big thing. Like there was Crash Bandicoot 4, which was kind of cool, but there was a lot of small stuff. You know, like one of the
Yeah.
bigger names was like Five Nights at Freddy's, which I don't think I know many people who care about.
Okay, so I actually want to say I haven't played a lot of the Five Nights games, but I think it's so surreal that we're getting an open world Five Nights at Freddy's game on PlayStation 5. Like Five Nights at Freddy's has become this huge franchise because like I can remember the first time I ever played Five Nights at Freddy's because I was like on a long road trip with my family and my sister was playing it on her iPad and she was like, play this game. And I played it and I was like, this game is horrible. This is terrifying. And it was the first Five Nights games. And I think back to that and like where we're at now. And you have this open world game. Like, that's crazy.
It is, and like the movie is still theoretically coming out. I'm pretty sure, and there's like 5 books on it. It's ridiculous how it
Yeah.
exploded like that because there's nothing that Five Nights at Freddy did particularly new or even well. It just kind of like popped out of nowhere. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I
Um,
remember my friend like made Five Nights at Freddy, like recreated it in Scratch in like a week. You know,
yeah.
it's not a very complex game.
No, that game was made by one guy. It was one guy who did
Yeah.
everything. And I've
Yeah.
watched video of like how he did the AI. The way he did the AI is pretty cool, but it is very simple. He just wrote it in a way that was kind of like it, like it. I think what makes it like so compelling for people is that the animatronics feel so real. Like it feels like you're actually being hunted down by these things when you're playing it. You know, they have all these like quirks and things they do that are different from the others. Like
Yeah, I think it does a really interesting thing, and it's kind of like I always find it interesting how different video games handle making horror interesting. And
mm,
the simple act here was just taking like mobility from the player, you know.
oh yeah, you
It
can't run away.
it's a game of like dread, you know.
Yep.
It's not will they arrive at your door, it's when.
Yeah, and then you have
And will you be ready?
yeah, and then you have animatronics like Foxy that are like, I'm gonna wake up and be there in 2 seconds, and you're like, oh god. At least I
Yeah.
think that's Foxy, right?
Yeah,
Maybe.
it is. It
Yeah,
is.
yeah. But I watched the trailer. I didn't watch all the trailers from the State of Play, to be honest, because there's so many of them. But I did watch the Five Nights trailer because I was just interested. Like, I think I have this morbid curiosity about this series. And I'm like, I don't. It's just so strange to me how popular it is. But I watched the trailer, and the trailer looked pretty cool. Like, I think you're playing, from what I got from it, you're playing as a kid in a Five
Yeah.
Nights fun park, and you're being like taken around by this security guard who I think is trying to save you from the animatronics. Um,
Yeah.
it looked really cool, and I like to see that Crash Bandicoot 4 is getting a PS5 update. I'm a huge Crash Bandicoot fan ever since I was a kid. Love Crash Bandicoot. Um, do you like Crash? I'm
Um,
curious.
I was always, as a younger kid, I was always frustrated by it. But I remember there was like a Crash Bandicoot Racing, and I played
Hmm.
that game to no end. It was like a weird racing adventure game, and it was ridiculously fun.
Yeah. Was it Tag Team Racing? Was the one where you can combine cars together?
That might have been it.
Yeah.
Uh,
No. It was. I love that game, but Crash Bandicoot. I loved it when I was a kid. And then once I got old enough, I realized that Crash Bandicoot was very unpopular compared to like Mario and Sonic. And then the whole series was just dead for years until they released those like remakes of the first three games for PS4, and then it blew up again. And it just honestly makes me so happy to see it succeeding again. Uh,
yeah, it's It also I did a little research. It was Crash Team Racing that I loved as a kid.
yeah,
But
yeah,
no, you go.
yeah. I was just gonna say the remake of Crash Team Racing, like Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. I actually like when I was a kid. That was the first racing game I ever played too. It was just Crash Team Racing on the PlayStation One,
Yeah.
and I remember when they announced the remake, and I saw the trailer, and it blew my mind. Like I was a kid again. I was freaking out. I was like, "Yo, they're remaking this game." I was like, I didn't think people cared about that game. So
Yeah.
that's what blew my mind. But yeah, so the
Yeah.
Crash,
What
yeah,
I had a similar experience with, reviving old franchises with Ratchet and Clank. That was my thing as a kid.
I
I
gotcha.
played I played Ratchet and Clank to maybe like finished it all the way through once a week as a kid. You know, when I had no responsibility and was just playing video games all the time, I
Yeah,
loved that game. And you know, they made some games for PS3 which were all right. They had like a four-player co-op one which was pretty bad. But then
dang.
the remake came out and that brought me back so fast.
Oh yeah, I definitely understand that. I I mean, some people have complained about the number of remakes we've gotten in years, but I'm really happy to see some of these games getting remade because I feel like they really deserve it. Like Demon Souls, I'm
Oh
so
yeah.
happy about that. Yeah, because Demon Souls, I played it a couple years ago on my dorm mate. He had a PS3, so I bought Demon Souls at GameStop and played it on that. I was lucky enough to have a way to actually play it in like, what was it, like 2019, 2018 when you'd probably be impossible to find that game, but yeah, and I'm so happy to see it getting remade for PS5 because I wish more people would be able to play it. So
Yeah. And It is interesting that they, as a remake, decided really to keep it the exact same. I know a lot of people were happy about that, but I was a little frustrated because when I try to play Demon Souls, like the
Hmm.
earlier Dark Souls type games, always frustrated me. Demon Souls, I think, to the highest extent, because
Hmm.
I think as that kind of game system has developed, it's become more manageable because it's been more focusing on
Speed.
you can beat, yeah, you can beat this boss, but it's going to be really hard. But earlier Dark Souls was more like, oh, you want to see a boss, man, you're just going to die to random dogs jumping out of nowhere.
Do
But
not talk about the Capra Demon. We're not. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I know what you're
yeah, or
saying.
I remember like I played Dark Souls 1 a
Hmm.
while ago, and I was like, oh, this is so fun. Played Dark Souls 2, hated it. It's like this boss is just rats.
Dark Souls 2. Did you ever see the boss that's literally like a congregation in a
It's
church?
literally just it's just some guys going to church. It
Yeah,
was
man.
and which is such a bummer because it makes you realize how much ridiculous crazy bosses make those games so fun.
Yeah, I'm a
Like
yeah.
there's an anticipation and a dread every time you walk through a fog door.
Yup. Oh man, I wish I could go back and play through them again for the first time cuz once you play through them, once, I mean that feeling goes away cuz you know where everything is and all that
Yeah.
I've played through all those games multiple times. I'm a huge Dark Souls nerd. But I will agree that Demon Souls is actually probably one of the most sadistic of the Soulsborne games because you even had this thing called world tendency that they implemented. Because like one of the interesting things you can read about Demon Souls development is that Miyazaki and his team at From Software, when they were making that game, they didn't think it was going to sell well at all. Like it's like I don't think it started under Miyazaki and his leadership. But like once they got the game, I think Bandai Namco was just like, oh this game is we don't think it's going to sell well at all. Just do whatever you want with it. We don't care. Just finish it so we can send it out. They finished it, but they made it really hard because they were like, fuck it, let's just make it really hard. And one of the things they did was world tendency, where like the more you die in a level, the harder the enemies become.
Oh,
Uh, yeah. um, But I honestly, and the thing you were saying about how I love Dark Souls 1, you play Dark Souls 2. I hate this game. That's pretty
yeah,
much, yeah, pretty
yeah. That's
much everyone.
how it felt. It was like, man, this is bad. This is not fun. And then Dark Souls 3 came out. I'm like, this is awesome. There's
Oh,
giant
yeah.
skeletons, like balls of skeletons rolling down hallways, and
Spooky, scary skeletons. That shit.
yeah.
um, I
I've been
love
playing.
Dark Souls. Yeah.
I've been playing through Bloodborne recently. I never got around to it, but I
Ooh,
got it recently, and it's a fun. That's a fun game.
dude. Bloodborne. Okay, so I'm going to tell you right now my rankings. Like, Dark Souls 1 is my favorite game out of the whole series. I think it's like the best. Then right beneath it is Bloodborne. Bloodborne is like second best. And you could easily argue that Bloodborne is better than Dark Souls 1 to me. It's just a personal preference. I have a bias toward Dark Souls. So,
Right, of course.
yeah. So, how far are you in Bloodborne?
Uh, Not far at all. I think I just beat the first boss. Like I just started. I just beat the cleric
Ah,
beast,
the Cleric Beast. Oof.
and I think that's the first time I actually ever beat a Dark Souls boss or Souls like boss on my first try.
Okay, here's the thing. And one of my friends is actually playing through Bloodborne now, too. He's way farther than you are 'cause he's been playing it for a couple weeks. But
Hmm.
we were both talking about it because this is my experience too. I played through all of the Dark Souls games, and when I played Bloodborne, there were so many bosses I beat first try, and we were just talking about it because I was like, I think if you are like already a Souls veteran, when you play Bloodborne, so many of the bosses are just like based around you being able to dodge and parry well. That if you already know how to do that stuff, then like it's way easier.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, like I actually I messed up when I first started playing Bloodborne, and I played for an hour without like picking up a weapon. Like I died for the to the first enemy,
Oh,
and they send you to that like little,
the hunter's dream.
hunter's dream, and I just didn't know where to find a weapon, so I just went back, and like I was just, I mean, trial by fire, but I became a master of the parry.
Oh my god. Wait, what did you
Because like
parry with?
your hands, you still get the 200 damage off
Oh.
if you get the parry counter strike. So like, or
What?
like, yeah, parrying and diving behind people and stabbing them in the back. I'm like, God, this game's hard. When do you get the first weapon?
That is amazing. That is so hilarious to me. Man's going through Central Yarnum. He's doing the weaponless run on his first playthrough. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
I'm like, why do I keep getting silver bullets? There's no guns.
Where are the guns? I didn't realize this is like Call of Duty. What the heck? Yeah.
Yeah, it was But once I got a weapon, I'm using the cane whip just because that sounds super awesome.
Dude, the cane whip was so cool when I got that. Like I thought it was cool too. The thing with Bloodborne is the weapons are so awesome, because like there are fewer weapons I think in Bloodborne than most of the other Soulsborne games, but it's because every weapon is basically two weapons when you like switch between the different forms. Um,
Yeah, and it really changes how you play on each one. Like
mhm,
Dark Souls, no matter really what you pick up, there's like three archetypes of weapons, but like
pretty much.
in Bloodborne, every single weapon you pick up or try with, it's like, wow, this is
Hmm.
different and has a completely different play style and game plan and build.
Yeah. And the coolest thing is like the weapon swap animations. I remember
Oh,
when I was walking around the world, if I was feeling, I guess, extra twitchy that day, I would just spam the weapon swap and watch my character weapon swap as I was walking around. I don't know why. uh, and but my favorite weapon to use was the Kirk hammer. That was my jam. Um,
mm,
you get that. I think you get that late. You get it. You'll reach the area after Central Yarnum, and I think that's
right.
where you pick it up. And then there's another weapon called Ludwig's Holy Blade. That was my other favorite weapon to use. It's like a great sword, and then you can also sheath it and then use the sheath as like another weapon.
Yeah. I
It's
think as far as my favorite things that like hit me immediately about the difference between Dark Souls and Bloodborne is I just love the Bloodborne music so much.
oh yeah,
Like it's
dude.
got all these choirs and booming fucking strings. It's really awesome.
Oh yeah, I love all the music in the Soulsborne series, but Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3 probably have the best soundtracks out of all of them.
Hmm.
Um,
How do you rank Sekiro? Do you even put it in the same area? But if you gave me your ranking earlier, but where would you put Sekiro on that?
I love Sekiro. Uh, I actually got all the way to the very end and just did not finish it. I looked it up later. I literally got like all the way to the end and stopped playing. I think because I got addicted to another game. I don't remember what it was at the time.
Hmm.
So I technically did not finish it. Technically, but I have seen most. I pretty much seen all the game. I like made it. Have you finished it?
Yeah, it was actually weirdly enough. So I played all the Souls like games, but there'd always reach a point where I got frustrated and would drop it, just
Right.
forget to pick it back up. But Sekiro was the first one like I just blazed and finished through. And once I finished that one, I'm like, I need more of this. And that's when I like spent a whole summer just playing through every Souls like
Right.
game.
Um,
Because we just got the like Dark Souls remaster on like PSN and we're like, oh awesome.
yeah. I love Sekiro. I think the final area of Sekiro, the Fountainhead Palace,
Yeah.
is literally probably the best area in all the series. It's up there
Mm.
with Anorlando for me. I was so blown away when I reached that area in Sekiro, because the thing with Sekiro, if you've never played it before, for anyone who hasn't, is like it starts out so chill. Like you're just okay, this is medieval Japan, there's samurai, there's shinobi, like whatever, it's nothing too crazy, right? Then you keep going, and all the weird, like, Japanese, I guess, mythology starts creeping in, and they start throwing monsters at you, and they start throwing ghosts at you, and you're like, what's happening? And then,
Yeah,
just, yeah. And
it,
then,
it, it's great because the first boss is like just a guy with a spear, and it's
yeah.
like, oh, this is fun, this is cool. I get the aesthetic. And the next one is like, a a guy with really thick impenetrable armor, and then it's a giant snake, and then a monkey, and then you're fighting a one-armed dragon sword wielding ninja samurai,
Oh
and
my
it's
god. Did you know that you can fight two of those guardian apes at once?
no.
Oh yeah, I had no idea. Like I was reading about the Sekiro bosses because I was planning to start another playthrough and try to actually get all the way to the end. And I was reading a line about the guardian ape, and it was like, you can go back to this part of this map, and it will spawn in two guardian apes at once for you to fight. And I was like, are you serious? I was like, you're joking, right? I looked it up, and it was like, yep, no, it's real. I was like, what? Oh man. Every Soulsborne game has to do that. They always have the fight two bosses at once, boss, you know? I just didn't think
Yeah.
Sekiro had one. Actually, wait, does Bloodborne? Oh yeah, wait, never mind. Yep, I won't spoil it, but yeah, Bloodborne definitely does. Now, it took me a second to remember, but yeah, that was a crazy tangent about Soulsborne, but
Yeah.
I can go on for hours. I could do a whole podcast series on just the Soulsborne
It's an
games.
addicting topic.
It is, but the next story we have is from Fortnite, which is pretty hilarious because I'd say this like every episode because ever since I started doing TGC Radio, like every week Fortnite gets into the news and I'm always like, I don't actually play Fortnite, but here's my
Right.
opinion on this. Um,
Yeah, I mean, it's like this is, I guess.
yeah, but they're bringing Ripley and the Xenomorph from the Alien film series to Fortnite, which I'm just gonna go ahead and say that it blows my mind that Epic Games have gotten Fortnite to the point where they can sign deals with other companies to get cross promotional skins to help them sell their own franchises.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like Fortnite feels like modern NASCAR, and
Yeah.
and it was confusing to me because like with the superhero stuff and even with the Street Fighter stuff, like you know, Avengers is always trying to market itself. Street Fighter just came out with Champion Edition in Season 5, so it needs to push itself. But like, why is Alien like in here? Like, is there a game that's going to be announced in the next month that's like Alien Xenoverse 2
um,
or Alien
maybe
Isolation,
that's what I was gonna say. Another Alien Isolation game, maybe.
which would be awesome. I love that game.
I haven't played it, but I've heard it's really good.
Talk about like, we were talking about Five Nights at Freddy, like scary AI. That is an
Hmm.
AI that feels very real, and that's what makes it so scary. It doesn't feel like it's a set piece or an obstacle. It feels like an actual creature trying to end you, and it's very terrifying.
Yeah, like you're being hunted by a xenomorph the entire time, right? I've never actually seen gameplay, but I know you're like in a
Yeah,
space station, right?
it's basically just you're in a space station, and it's kind of got the amnesia style of, and then a monster appears, but this monster is just constantly omnipresent, like lurking and jumping
Dang.
into vents and jumping out of vents, and it's
Hell
horrifying.
no. That sounds terrifying. I just can't believe they're bringing that to Fortnite. Like I
I,
guess yeah.
I think it's hilarious that you can play as the xenomorph. I think
That's what I
like
was gonna say. Yeah.
it's like barely anthropomorphic.
It's like I think about all the people you can play as in Fortnite. Like when Fortnite came out when I was a freshman at USC, when Fortnite came out, I remember people were going into other people's dorms just to play the game or just to watch them play the game. I was like, dude, this is insane. People love this game so much. But if you told me then that, hey, like 3 years from now, you'll be able to play as Harley Quinn in Fortnite. I would be like, you're crazy. You're goofing me. There's no way that's ever happening. And then now you can. And now you can play as the xenomorph alien. And it's like, what?
Yeah, I mean, it is ridiculous because I remember the commercials for Fortnite as the video game before the Battle Royale, right? I remember seeing, like, gameplay of it and it being in game, you know,
To save the world.
conventions. Yeah, and it's like, I'm like, this game looks interesting, but I doubt people are going to play it for long. And then, like, the Battle Royale as a system just blew up, and just Fortnite, right place, right time. They had a game that just came out with fresh developers still working on the game, and they just were like, let's just publish with the map we already have. Let's just drop them out. It's super easy. It'll take an extra, like, couple weeks of programming for this, and it's now the biggest game in the world. And it's insane.
And they perfected the business model too, because a lot of people give, game publishers or game dev studios slack for having microtransactions. But the thing is with Fortnite is that their microtransaction system actually made sense, right? Because you were getting like a free game. And so how do they subsidize or, finance their actual development? They have to get the money from somewhere. And then so that's where the cosmetics come in. But that's why I think Fortnite was such a great business model, because it was a free game, anyone could play it, and these skins and cosmetics didn't change the game at all. They didn't make it pay to win, and it was just completely cosmetic. And then but now the problem is you have development studios like Call of Duty, who they release a $60 product and then they want to charge you $20 for a skin, and you're like, this isn't fair at all. This is so anti-consumer, and that's what Fortnite did. It completely changed how studios want to monetize their games too. It really popularized the games as a service, quote unquote, model.
Yeah.
So
that is a good point, and it is interesting seeing how video games develop, because I think it's been pretty long established that video games are, to the extent that people want to make profit from video games, it's pretty hard to make profit from video games, considering how much time it takes, how hard they are to make, how much maintenance it takes. You can't just release the reels of the movie. Like, you've got constant work for years after it's released, to see any value in it. And this leads, developers to be like, okay, well, we cut weekends and we add certain microtransactions and we just get a little bit here and there, because the price of video games hasn't gone up in 20 years.
Yeah,
we've been sitting at that, like, AAA games are $60 and it sits there, and that's how much it costs. But that's not really the cost of video games anymore.
Yeah. Okay. I got you. I see what you're saying.
But I think the interesting thing about this new Fortnite skin line is that I think this is the first time, like, one of the characters or skins has been directly modeled after a real person. Like, even with the Avengers stuff and the superhero stuff, like, their Thor wasn't like,
Oh yeah, no, they were still.
Hemsworth.
Yeah, they were still very cartoony, like a lot more based off just the Marvel comics than the films. I do think though Keanu Reeves has a skin in Fortnite where it's
oh, you're right.
Yeah. From
so old I forgot about it.
Yeah, it was, what's that film series he's in?
John Wick.
There we go. Jesus. I don't know why I couldn't think of it. Yeah, there's a John Wick skin in Fortnite. I do know that, and I'm sure there might be others we're probably forgetting. That is an interesting point though. Like, they are rendering like real life actors and actresses into these skins. And it's probably interesting to look and see, how accurate they are. Or at least how they're adapted into the Fortnite art style. I think that's an interesting way of looking at it. That's pretty cool. I'd like to see maybe someone like Will Smith maybe as I don't know what film series they'd pull in from. What films is?
Just
Yeah,
just Will Smith. We'll just put him in as Will
yeah.
Smith.
You know what? Just do
New
the
skin line, Will Smith.
yeah, just do the Fresh Prince of Bel Air. Just put that Will Smith in there, young Will Smith.
That might be a skin I have to buy. I don't even play Fortnite, but I think I'd have to just to support that.
Oh yeah, no. Everybody loves the Fresh Prince of Bel Air. I say I've only seen like 2 episodes, but I still love it. I promise. But let's see the I guess the next story here to talk about is Anthem 2.0 getting officially canned by EA. Um,
Yeah.
and I'm just gonna go ahead and say I don't know if this will be like a hot take or anything, but I really don't blame EA at all for doing this. Because I remember when Anthem came out and then everyone hated it, and then a couple months later they released the roadmap for Anthem 2.0. I didn't think it was a good idea at all. Like I was like, oh, I don't understand why they'd even try at this point because it's like even if you make the game better, your name's always tainted. Like the game's name's always going to be spoken
Yeah.
of negatively.
Like I mean, even people talk about kind of the redemption of games like Destiny or No Man's Sky, but
Of
like
course.
I think like it's almost like a sunk cost. It's like, but wouldn't it just be better just to kind of move on?
Yeah.
And I think the thing is that Anthem 2 flopped like Destiny. The problem is that it wasn't different enough from Destiny to like be worth going through the trouble again. Like it felt very as soon as I saw the trailer for Anthem, I knew what was going to happen. I'm like, okay, this is going to look really cool. It's going to release super buggy and half broken.
Hmm.
They're going to try to fix it and maybe it'll be a good game in 5 years after release. And
But I mean,
I'm not I'm not surprised it didn't get to that. And
yeah. I mean, because I mean that's like someone told me like people are pissed about this. I'm like they're because a lot of the time I do get mad at publishers, but this is one instance where I'm like EA probably did the right thing because even from what I understand, the way they decided to do this, like they actually had the developers come sit down at a meeting and like show them what they had like done for Anthem 2.0, and they saw it, and that was pretty much going to be how they decided whether or not to move forward with it. They ended it, and I'm like they probably saw it and were like this is a waste of money.
yeah,
Like I mean, because who's going to play Anthem 2.0? I mean, I don't even think there are that many people who still want to play this game. The only thing that
I,
sold it was BioWare's namesake.
yeah, I'm surprised to hear that people are upset that it's canceling because I actually don't know a single person that played it.
I
I
mean,
actually don't. I don't have a friend that I had who played Anthem at all.
I'm sure if you go on the Anthem subreddit, they probably had a
Yeah, well,
meltdown.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sure. I mean,
but that like as far as like people in the who play video games generally, like like they're probably just like okay. I mean, who I don't mean it's not like we didn't see this coming. I think what made it so bad is they released a roadmap and promised they're like guys we're gonna do it, we're gonna fix the game, and then I remember people saying that like it was actually just a skeleton team working on Anthem 2.0 and the rest of BioWare was working on Dragon Age 4, and I was like that sounds bad. I mean, at BioWare, I haven't played that many BioWare games. I've played Knights of the Old Republic 1, but I have not played
yeah,
Mass Effect or Dragon Age. But I mean, I feel like they really should stick to what they're good at, anyways. Not to say they couldn't make a good multiplayer game, but I mean, when you have a studio that has been making single player games for years, that develops like a work culture, a sort of, I guess, like what's the word I'm looking for? Some kind of like like creative drive toward that, right? Like
and a
towards
and a
single
certain
player.
and a certain skill set and
Yeah,
experience and
right.
knowledge, and it's like it's if From Software suddenly dropped a dating sim. I mean, why though?
Yeah,
I mean, they can if they're really driven to, but I guarantee it's not going to be as good as if they put the same effort into Born like game, an action game.
right. And it's like you're not going to see id Software out here making RP like huge open world RPGs. It's not what they do. They're id Software. They make Doom. They make shooters. You know, that's what they've always done. You know, I think this is probably just from what I understand. Apparently, EA mandated to all their development studios, including BioWare, that every game they release has to have like a some sort of monetization or like replayability, so that they can like keep, I guess, monetizing it as something like that. Maybe I'm sure EA was involved in telling BioWare to make a game like this, but at the same time, it's like
Oh
they
yeah,
should have known better. Um,
yeah.
so nothing too surprising about that story. The next one is GameStop. And I'm sure everyone has seen all the reasons why GameStop has been in the news for like the past month. It's pretty hilarious what's going on in the stock market, but apparently their chief financial officer has resigned, and his resignation will take effect later this month on the 26th. And if a new chief financial officer has not been chosen by the senior staff or senior management at GameStop, then their chief accounting officer will fulfill the role until they find a better candidate. So, got some stuff going on with GameStop. Um, I don't go to GameStop anymore at all.
It's fun. I was telling friends about this, but I became annoyed when I saw GameStop rising in the stock market because it made me look like a real fool. Because like it wasn't a week before that I think I said to a friend, we were walking through the mall and another GameStop was closing, and
Yeah.
I'm like, there's just like GameStop exists only to sell consoles at this point, and now that Amazon can sell you a console, it has no real purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Like GameStop used to be important because like even when like online stuff was happening and I'm still using Steam, sometimes like AAA games would have like
Yeah.
a GameStop pre-orders thing,
Oh yeah, they
but
would.
they just don't do that anymore, and
Right.
it's like I honestly don't mind losing GameStop because there are some systems that like are getting thrown out by online services. Like if you're into like tabletop games, tabletop game stores and stuff like that are exceedingly more rare and more expensive than they used to be because it's
Mm-hmm.
harder and harder to keep that open, which is sad because those kind of things create a community. But
Yeah. Like
games, games but
yeah.
GameStop just never really did that. It was just a store.
I just feel like you pretty much summed it up. I mean, you took the words out of my mouth with GameStop, but also I feel like the work culture at GameStop, like none of the employees ever seemed nice. Every time I went to a GameStop, they were like they always seemed so annoyed whenever they had to deal with a customer. There's just like I've never had anyone at GameStop say anything hateful to me. I'm not trying to be hyperbolic or anything, but it's just the GameStop employees, I think, are also notorious for not being like very helpful, or at least not being very friendly. Um, they don't have to be super excited, but people don't need to feel like a burden when they go to your store. You know what I mean? That makes them not want to go back again. Uh, and the other thing too is with GameStop is like if you try to go there and sell back a game, they will not give you anything for it. Um, like I know that's kind of a meme, but I remember when I was like I think 16, I really wanted this game, and I had a lot of old PlayStation 2 games, and I brought like a stack of like 10 of them that was not going to play anymore. And they were like, we'll give you like $5 for these," and I was like, "Excuse me?" I was like, "Huh?" And then I just left. I took the games and left. Um, I was like, "No," you know.
Yeah, and what is interesting, I mean, I guess it's not necessarily interesting in itself that someone resigned from GameStop, but it might be the start of what we see GameStop, because GameStop's got to know it's going the way of Blockbuster. So with this sudden second life it's been given through uh, Reddit and the new stock market, they have one last shot to transform themselves into a new reliable business model, and it's going to be interesting to see what they come up with.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, I guess they could try to change their image, maybe improve their stores, maybe just like consolidate what stores they still have, make them better. They need
Yeah,
to
maybe
find, yeah,
they just
because
need like a new source of revenue. Is the thing is,
yeah, like
selling games just doesn't work for them anymore.
yeah. Have you heard of G2K, that game
No,
store?
have not.
So that's a game store. There's one in Columbia. There's one in my hometown, Rock Hill. Both in South Carolina, but they sell like old games, kind of like GameStop. But they also have like board games, card games. They actually let people come into the store and have like card game tournaments. Kind of like what you were
Mm,
talking about with those board game stores and everything. I've been to a couple of those. They usually have tournaments and stuff in them on certain days. Like they'll do events and stuff. Um, so it does kind of create that community. And I mean, I feel like GameStop could try to change the image, but the problem is we're living in the age, like the modern age of the internet
yeah.
and meme culture. So it's like GameStop already has this image. It's not going away. You know what I mean? They'd have to pull a No Man's Sky. They'd have to do something to win people over, and I don't think they can do that. I mean, they're a company, versus like a dev studio, which can, fulfill promises and such things. But with GameStop, it's just I don't know, man. It's,
Yeah. I mean, I think it'd be cool to see them make some kind of crazy transformation, but I don't see it likely.
yeah, they're definitely dying. They'll be up. They'll be in the graveyard with Blockbuster maybe in another few years. Um, but anyways, the last story we have today is one of those eye-rolling stories about violent video games.
Yep.
It's a Chicago lawmaker who wants to ban the sale of violent video games to anyone of any age, which I find so ridiculous. It's not even funny. Like I don't expect any legislation. Oh my gosh, I just tripped over my own tongue. Legislation to get passed like this, but it is. I just can't believe there's someone actually proposing something like this. Um, and I guess I kind of have to think about it from another perspective, right? Because we all play video games. We all love video games. So whenever people like this who don't understand video games or don't play them, think of them as dangerous. It you have to think about it from their perspective, I suppose. But it's just the thing is, it's like if my always defense has been that if you're going to say people can't play violent video games or you don't like violence in video games, how is that any different than allowing violent media, in movies and TV shows? How is that any different than letting Hollywood release R-rated movies like Deadpool that quote unquote glorify violence?
Right.
You know, that's always been my thing. Uh, so, I mean, what do you think about it?
It's like weird because there have been waves of this kind of thing where um people have come out and outburst against things like GTA, but usually they're movements of like suburban like parents pushing legislation
Mm-hmm.
under like kind of the pushing of certain, you know, organizations for profit. But this is just one guy who clearly mustn't understand really what violent video games are or what they mean to like the youth
Yeah.
or what they can actually do. It doesn't seem like in other times where it felt like kind of corrupt. This kind of just feels naive.
Like really dumb. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you got to think about it. Like, my thing is like, if you're gonna argue that games like Grand Theft Auto 5 encourage people to commit carjackings in Chicago, like, what's to stop me from saying if I play Call of Duty Modern Warfare for about 12 months, I'm all of a sudden ready to go to the Middle East and start fighting for the United States military. That's not how that works at all. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously that's a little bit hyperbolic, but it's just like the root of the problem is they equate what you do in the video game to somehow like encouraging behavior in real life or like somehow mimicking real life behavior. When if you've ever played, I'm sure if you've talked to somebody who has been in the military, who's a veteran, they will probably tell you that Call of Duty, like the way the guns and everything, they're probably somewhat accurate, but it's nothing like using an actual gun or using like any kind of actual military equipment versus all same thing in Grand Theft Auto 5. I mean it's not gonna, no one out here playing Grand Theft Auto 5 is gonna go all of a sudden start hijacking cars. There's a bigger problem going on that like they don't ever want to solve the actual root of the problem. They just want to blame something like quote unquote violent video games instead of saying, hey, why are people stealing cars? Oh, they may not have money because Chicago is one of those cities that I think, what is it, like a lot of unemployment going on over there?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like when you
Yeah.
have people who get super desperate and they're like, hey, if I steal this car that someone just, left unlocked, I can sell it for money and make a whole, like pay my bills this month. You know what I mean? It never has anything to do with, oh man, this video game's so cool, I'm going to go steal cars now. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And then I always like laugh whenever I see people talk about like Call of Duty and GTA 5 as like really violent games. Have you ever heard of a series called Postal?
Yeah, yes, I have.
Yeah. Look up Postal 2 or even Postal 1. Postal 1 is nightmare. Like it's nightmare fuel how violent that is compared to something like, GTA 5. Because you literally go around like mass killing innocent people in Postal. In Postal 1 at least. Postal 2 they try to go for like a more goofy, like we don't take this seriously anymore. It's just an over the top, gory, violent Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah, and the thing is that I think it completely misrepresents the reason people, what is happening in those video games and why people take those actions. Like, when you're playing Grand Theft Auto, you do choose, like, I want to steal that car. But it's not because you want a carjack. It's not because you want to rip someone out of the car and throw them on the pavement or, to steal. It's just because it's a cool car that you want to drive. Right? And
Yeah.
through the mechanism of the game, the easiest way to do that is just to let you do it on any car you see.
Yeah.
It's not about stealing. It's not about, it's not about taking the cop's life in GTA. It's about shooting the cool gun.
Yeah. It's
and I mean, I don't know. It's just from a complete disconnect from understanding, right? They see the game from kind of the macro view, right? GTA is a game about stealing cars and killing people. But when you actually play GTA, that's not really what GTA is about.
Mm-hmm.
GTA is a silly game. It's a sandbox about kind of just doing whatever you want and driving cool cars and doing tricks and flying planes and blowing up stuff.
Yeah, it's literally just, like you said, a sandbox that they let people play around in. They give them all these tools, these weapons, these cars, these vehicles, these planes. They're like, do whatever you want. We don't care. The world is your oyster. You can. And the funny thing too is that I've actually had friends. I don't like GTA 5 that much. I've played it a little bit with them, but they were telling me that they like being able to earn money by doing all of the like heist missions. How you can save up money to like buy your own apartment or buy your own penthouse, buy your own cars, have your own garage where you keep all of your cars. Like you can have your own like kind of almost like another life in GTA.
Mm-hmm.
That's how deep the sandbox actually goes. I never realized that. I thought you were just going around, creating chaos in the city, but no, you can like actually live in apartments and stuff. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. It is a... Yeah, that's the thing. Is like GTA is just a game about catharsis in whatever form it means, like driving cool cars or having money to spend on houses.
Yeah. We'll
And
we will completely skip over the brothels and such.
yeah,
That's
Well, I
there
mean,
too.
that's there too, but I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think playing GTA is any different from, you know, anything else a normal
Yeah.
person would do. It's
Yeah.
not ridiculous in any way.
Yeah, that's why I always just it's like a game like GTA, like I don't even think it I mean it's violent, but it's not over the top violence like games like Postal or Blood or even to an extent like Call of Duty. I mean they
Yeah,
just
and
yeah.
the problem is that, even in the worst horror stories of games that cause people to be violent, it's not video games that make people feel violent. If someone sees a fictional representation, a cartoonish, one of like stealing a car, and they think, "Oh, I that's cool. I'll steal a car." It's probably because that guy has the inclination to not think about, things like empathy and want to steal already. It's
Yeah.
not video games that tells them that's cool. It's himself that says it's all okay.
Yeah. Because the thing it's like I said earlier about the carjackings, like they're blaming the video games when there's a very different issue going on. Like when you see people talk about mass shooters and these people who commit such horrible crimes, such like inhuman atrocities, like they they never it's not just they play a violent video game then all of a sudden they become a killer. It's like all of these psychological like reasons. Maybe they had a horrible domestic life with their parents, or something happened to them, or multiple things happened to them that just caused them psychologically to become that person. And then so instead of like addressing those issues and trying to think how can we reach out to these people and like make sure that this isn't happening, or what I mean, they just want to either blame video games or gun laws. They don't want to attack the root of the issue, right? People get really caught up in blaming
Yeah.
surface level causes without actually attacking the root like problems. So food for thought there, I think. You know, just stop playing. I think the most frustrating thing for me is whenever I see politicians like they repeatedly do this. Like this has happened so many times at this point, and then it's just like I said, never getting to the root of the problem. So yeah,
Yeah.
but I think that was all the stories for today. Um, so thank you guys for watching this episode of TGC Radio. We'll see you guys next week. So take care.